on the seven seas. War games rules for the age of piracy and adventure. We're not really talking about this. Today's video is going to be more about all of the accoutrements that I've put together, things that you may want, even if you don't play on the seven seas, you may want to pick these up for your hobby collection. Talking a little bit about how you can do water-based adventures. We've already run through one example. I did just a little bit of a test drive, a little bit of a shakedown cruise, pirates versus Marines, British, in a land-based fight to see how the base rules work. And the way Osprey works in a lot of these cases, this reminds me a lot of Black Ops. The core fighty bits of the game are pretty bland, pretty generic. They do the 4 M's, movement, morale, missile, melee, and there's nothing really groundbreaking there. But they then go on to have this really interesting other thing that they do with those kind of bland core rules. And in the case of Black Ops, it's hidden movement, sneaking about, infiltration, that kind of thing. In the case of On the Seven Seas, it's integrating ship-to-ship combat with figure-to-figure combat. And I think it's going to be pretty seamless, but I'm not sure because I haven't done it yet. Right? I'm not going to tell you that it works great if I haven't shown you that it works great. I haven't confirmed for myself that it works great. Now, I know I said we're not talking about on the seven seas, but let's go ahead and clear a few other things out of the way. In the last fight, I showed you that I have a quick reference sheet for On the Seven Seas. To the best of my knowledge, nobody's put any of these together. You're not going to find it on Board Game Geek. The only place you're going to be able to find a quick reference sheet is on johnmollison.com. I'll put a link in the description to the blog post that will have the permanent link where you can download a copy of this yourself in PDF. Now, I will warn you, this is mostly all of the stuff you have to remember for melee and for shipboarding actions. But the way On the Seven Seas works, they break all of the ships down into 4 classes, and I'm going through this right now. So as we look at the ships that I've got from Old Glory, Merrimack Miniatures, you can kind of start thinking about how you want to adopt this rule set, or what, if you are going to try to give pirate action a try, what you might want to buy. I'm trying to help you out here, guys. So what I did is all of the big ship stuff, I actually wrote it for me. I only have a little Zebic and then a ship. And, you know, I just put a couple of little things that are buried in paragraphs. Like, literally, there's nowhere in here there's a table that says when you're ship-to-ship combat, your range for shooting at vessels is 2 inches. You roll a D10 and you hit on a 5 up to 8 inches. It's a 7 up. And anywhere beyond 8 inches, anywhere they can see, it's a 9 up in order to hit, right? And then there's a lovely little damage chart, which is really too big for me to squeeze onto here. So we just got to go to page 32. And this is really the key to ship-to-ship combat in this game. We will be doing a full, like, one video, one-stop shop, everything you need. Osprey, right? Fantastic artwork the whole time. Pirates, British, going at it, hammer and tongs. When you're shooting, you know, when you get a successful hit, then you roll a D10, and, you know, the heavy guns will give you a bonus. Light guns, the best you can do. You're not going to sink anybody with a light cannon, but you can dismast him. And look at all of these. Look at what happens, man. When you're dismasted, that's a whole lot of stuff. We're going to pause the game, read through this, see exactly what it means. But, you know, some of them are easy. Oh, no, the grog. The rum store has been hit. Oh, man, this is going to freak some of you guys out. No other damage, but all factions on board add 1 to their fear rating. Okay, so that's possible. Light damage. The ball strikes the superstructure, ricochets, causes no serious damage. The captain's parrot, who has been watching the fight from his... Wait, what is this? Pieces of it? The captain's parrot is decapitated. I hate this game. This game is stupid. I'm not playing this game. If you're anything like me, and I know I am, you love poking around in the basements of hobby shops, and while poking around in my favorite hobby shop in the world, I found this little Zebic. This is from Merrimack Miniatures, who is no longer in business. I believe most of their sculpts are still available through Old Glory. It comes with just a simple 1-piece resin, and then it gives you the 2 dowels for this little Zebic. And then I added the sail, and I couldn't find red and yellow striped sails, so I just drew red stripes on a yellow piece of paper and called it good. Pretty simple. Nothing much to it. You know, I glued it down here and here. This is just heavyweight paper, and you're done. Now, this did come with, for those of you who may one day find that somewhere in a dusty basement of your own, it did come with a bunch of these. You know, it's a Zebic, so I think these are some kind of Arabic pirates. And kind of a mix, right? There's a bow guy, and I don't have any use for these. These are more medieval. There's a spear guy came with it. And I want to say it came with 12. Well, I mean, we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, 15. Ladybugs at the Ladybug Picnic. That's not bad, but it is the wrong era for me because I'm doing pirates. Now, this may be kind of a Barbary ship. It may be kind of a first step for somebody. I don't remember how much it was. Probably like 12, 15 bucks. It might cost about 20 right now, but you can find ships like this over at Old Glory. You got to check their shipyard. And now we're going to take a look at the big boy. Take a look at this beast. This is in the pirate line. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, these are just, Quaker guns. They're just pinned into place. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 7 on either side. So it's a 14-gun. I think it's technically a sloop. Now, in terms of this stupid game, no parrots were harmed in the making of On the Seven Seas. It will be classed as a ship. This Zebic will be classed as a sloop, and that has ramifications for how fast they are and how far into the wind they can sail and how long it takes them to tack. As you can see, I'm using a very small table. I may have to do a little bit of changes. Now, one of the things I'll point out is that this 14-gun sloop comes with 10 deck guns. Okay, but I got an unarmed Zebic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rate this as a 10-gun ship, 5 to each side, and I've pulled 4 of the guns, at least until I can get another package of deck guns, maybe another little ship to kind of beef up the amount of iron that the pirates can throw against this guy. As you can see, the Zebic is completely outclassed, 4 guns to 10. We'll have to figure out a way to balance it out. Maybe we give them more guys, but again, it's lighter, more maneuverable. Maybe we give them the weather gauge so they've got a lot more say about how the fight goes. And again, if the wind is coming from the south, the Zebic can tack in a single turn. And tacking means if you're sailing into the wind, right? So wind is due from the south. You're sailing something like this, and you want to turn, so you're sailing like this, you can do that in one turn with this little guy. This guy will make the turn, and then, well, what is it? It's a little bit complicated, but long story short, there's a chance that as he's, I think that's wearing, actually, when you're turning into the wind. As he's wearing on that first turn, it may be that he fails, and on that second turn, he comes back to his original heading. So he's got to pass a check before he, on the second turn, then completes wearing and turns, on the opposite heading. So that's a little bit how the game works, but let's talk a little bit about this model first. I'm going to go ahead and pull off the deck guns, and I'll give you a real quick look. I just went with brass guns, very simple. Didn't take much time at all. Forgive the chapped hands. I'm actually working on the water right now, the local naval base. I'm a private contractor that's helping to remediate some of the environmental oopsies that the Navy did back in the day. And man, I do not have the naval man's hands, and so they're kind of showing it. Let me zoom out a little more so we can show you this beast in all of her glory. Let's talk about the model itself first, and then we'll talk about what I did. It is a good-looking resin model that has a couple of issues. You can see right here where that shadow is, not a particularly good mold of this one. In fact, our Sea Witch here on the bow, if we take a look at her, maybe we can get a little bit more light on that, hussy. What do you say? A lot of bubbles. There we go. We'll zoom in on that. A lot of bubbles in her. We'll chalk that up to sea damage. It's not really the best. And then again, these guys right here, I think one of them, like this guy right here, he's got some battle damage. Not a great scope. I spent a lot of time gutting out the resin kind of remains to square these off. And then it comes with this rail that's too short to go all the way across, but it's not long enough to go all the way across, but too short to really, I don't know. So what I did is I just kind of cut it so it would look okay, and then used half the rail as a ladder to access this aft deck. What do you call it? The helm here is a metal figure, and then it does come with the main masts and 2 spars. Now I thought, wait a minute, I need another spar, so I took a couple of bamboo skewers for barbecue or your shish kebabs, and I cut them to size so it's a little bit better. It looks a little bit awkward, and here's where we get into what I did and how you may want to approach building one of these yourself. There is a whole hobby involved with cutting pieces of actual fabric, rigging all of these and getting all the lines and the rat lines in place and making this thing look as realistic as possible. I need to wargame. I need to be able to access the deck. So the first thing I did that's not really historically accurate is my top sail, my whatever this is called, this spar right here, is pretty high. Well, alternatively, I could have hung some more sail from the bottom of this, but again, it would limit my ability to access the figures and cannons on the deck. You can see that I just have a couple of tabs that are glued to the spars here, and then I just kind of put a couple of little white lines to kind of trace out. You'll forgive the gunshots. As I film this, it's actually American Independence Day, so we are celebrating by blowing up a piece of our country, as we do. Thick paper, you know, it's not great. It's okay. I don't know if it needs this. I think this should be attached to the line, and but you know what? It gives you the impression, like terrain for this hobby, we're trying to create the impression. The other thing, one minor complaint, there's no instructions, so I think this crow's nest is backward. If you think about it, when the wind pushes our vessel, this is going to billow out this way and knock everybody off the crow's nest. If I had it to do over again, I would put the rounded part in the back. And that's part of why we're doing this video here, is so you can learn from my mistakes. It also meant that I had to kind of do this awkward cutout of the paper to get it to fit over. If you can imagine, if this was the other way, then I could have just billowed it out over the back of this crow's nest. All right, live and learn. And then I don't have any flags on top yet. I may put together a couple of little like pins that I can put in there with either the Union Jack or the the typical piratey flag of one flavor or another. And I, because again, this is just a regular dowel. You could very easily either use your pin vise, or even I think you just stick a pin in there and you're good, a metal pin, and it'll look pretty sharp. I painted it in fairly neutral colors. I love this guy in the back. It's an octopus wearing a little sailor's hat. Let's see if we can get to focus in there. Yeah, look at him. Isn't he adorable? Not the greatest painting, and then I experimented with a couple of different ways. This could probably stand to be like a brass color, I suppose. Captain's cabin over here, and then I just went with a simple red, white, and blue. I wanted to keep it fairly neutral on the colors so that it could be used to either French, British, whoever I want to throw on there. I don't have any actual Marines. I don't have any actual sailors. Probably need to correct that, but, we may proxy some guys in. Little forward deck here, you can put a couple of guys, and I think that's really about all you need to know. This is a metal piece that I just glued in place, and the cannons are all metal. And I guess if you wanted a couple of other big guns, you could stick them up there. But like I said, we're going to be going with a 10-gun versus a 4-gun. And so we'll have 3 here, and then these 2 also count. I used just I don't even know what kind of thread this is. It's a craft thread. And I highly recommend you at least run the one line like so. These are pretty wobbly, and this little line kind of helps keep it ship shape. It just keeps it tight. Keeps it looking good. And if you want to take a look at what the painting looks like, so we get a little bit of different flavor, tan versus gray, same kind of brown. You could probably stand to paint a ship name here. Not a lot of room here on the transom for the ship's name where you would expect it to go, but that's okay. We got the flying octopus there. And then again, here you probably want to put something there, but that's about it. So both of these are resin. This one took a little bit of work, but I think we can all agree it looks pretty sharp right now, even with the landlubber's boneheaded mistake here. And you could if you wanted to, you could tie little loops around to make that a little more secure. I just use Gorilla Glue to fasten it, and I think that'll be fine. It'll hold up under normal wargaming wear and tear, and it provides that illusion. Literally just drew lines with pencil. It kind of looks like the lines you could put it. I could probably dash in the little tie lines that they use to tie them up, but that's about it. So look for that coming up in the future. And if you're interested in naval wargaming and you're interested in 15 millimeter, I guess the last thing I could show you here. Let me show you how good these look with 15 millimeter figures. So here's our pirate standing on board his Zebic. Give you an idea of the scale of these bad boys. And then here is our captain standing on the aft deck. I don't know, is that the castle deck? The rear castle, the poop deck. I don't know what it is. I think that would be the forecastle, wouldn't it? But there's no castle there, so I don't know if it's still considered that or not. Stern deck, maybe. Whatever. Two-decker. They've got a whole lot of different versions of these. Again, the resin ones you're looking for are in the pirate line, the Pirates and Buccaneers, but they have a whole lot of really great figures, ships there. And I'll put a link in the description. This one can be a little hard to find. 14-gun sloop. I think it was like $25. And it turned out pretty good. That's all I got for you today. Oh, no, it's not. Let me just show you one last thing. I'm going to adjust the lights, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit to show you my new Wargaming Space. Check this out. How good does this look? This is my new Wargaming Space. I put up some shelves. You guys remember those, right? That's my undead terrain, and then I actually used, for hanging up these shelves, I actually used my Wiley Games tape measure. I used a Wargaming tape measure for my construction project instead of the other way around. Doing things backwards, and then here's our unit. We may wind up having, I'm going to give them just like 13. We'll give a couple of extra guys to the pirates since they're so outgunned. We'll let the pirates be a little, we'll make these guys outmanned since these guys are outgunned. And then again, look at those shells. Don't those look great? And one last look with that pirate ship in place. I think we need a spaceship over here. And I don't even know, something fun and interesting that we can look at every day and be inspired to sit down and do some wargaming. Till next time, I'm praying for you.